Hey everybody, welcome to Bearstone Adventures, and today is brisket day. We are going to be taking a nice sized brisket. We're going to be cooking it up today from start to finish. You'll see the whole process and every step along the way to get yourself a perfect brisket made in the oven. Step one, we got to trim this thing. Okay, so there are some nice sections of fat and gristle we need to get rid of, such as this section right up here on the top. You will find these, any sections that's gristly, overly thick. Okay, they go the entire way along. This fat is hard and thick. We have to get rid of it. And up here is some thinner meat. We got to get rid of that too. Over here is some harder layers of fat. You want an even layer of fat about a 1/4 inch thick. And on the back side, we got some silver skin and some other gristly, fatty sections that we need to chop off and get rid of. All right, here we go. So at this point, I went ahead and I trimmed it up. I made a nice even layer of about a 1/4 inch thick of fat. I took off a big gristly, nasty section right here. I got rid of a bunch of hard fat up here at the top. Over here on this side, I cut a big section off of the really thin meat, and I made a couple little tiny steaks. The side over here is about a finger length in thickness, and over here on this side, it's super duper thin. So I want this thing to cook as evenly as possible. I had to get rid of that. On the back side here, I shaved off a good portion of this as well. And make sure you are saving your fat. I threw a bunch in a bucket. We're going to use that for later. Don't be afraid to give the doggo some. Next step is to get yourself a nice dry rub and start pouring it in. These guys aren't sponsoring me, so I'm not going to name them. But, you know, it has your smoked paprika, garlic, salt, pepper, you know, chilies, sugar, whatever it is you want for a nice barbecue dry rub. I'm also going to add a little bit of steak seasoning to this as well, or you can make your own dry rub. Now, you want to baste this first with a little bit of oil if you're in a hurry. If you have the time, put this dry rub on it a couple hours in advance. I'm starting 1 or 2 hours in advance, probably 1. But you want to have it in advance, and it will have time to soak in. And the salt will naturally pull out some moisture from your brisket here. And that moisture, when it gets pulled out, will help this stick. That's what the oil is for. If you're in a hurry, helps it stick on. But this, leaving it sit, it will pull out the moisture and have this stick in here. Get every crack, groove, crevice the whole way along. Don't forget the sides. Flip it over, get the other side the same way. I'll come back in a second. I went ahead and covered the other side. Massaged it in really well. And you can either let this sit out, or you can wrap it up in plastic wrap and put it in your fridge. Now, if you have it wrapped up and put it in plastic wrap in your fridge, make sure that, like, if you do this if you're several hours in advance, but if you are doing the plastic wrap in your fridge, make sure you take it out. You want this room temperature to cook it. All right, and this is 2 hours later. It's been sitting at room temperature in the dry rub for this entire time, and it has been soaking up that brine. Hopefully the flavor is really good now at this point. It's nice and soaked in, and we are putting it in the oven. It is 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to be doing this, cooking it until we have an internal temperature of around 150 degrees or so. I am guesstimating that it should be taking around 6 hours to do this, so we are going to be cooking it for 6 hours, and we're going to be checking it then. And at this stage as well, we are also adding water and some liquid smoke into the oven with the brisket to cook this entire time. Now, as far as how much liquid smoke to add, measure it with your heart. I added quite a bit. Now, what the purpose of this is it's not only going to release liquid smoke flavor and steam up into the air, but the steam in general is going to help with the moisture content in your brisket and help it be nice and moist. While the brisket's cooking, we might as well take advantage of the time and render the fat. I'm putting it in a pot covered with water at a medium-low heat, and we're going to let it simmer. And not to let those steaks go to waste, I'm cooking those up for my lunch. I gave steak number 3 to a nice street cat. Her name's Smokey, and she's loving it. Just so you could see what the inside of those steaks look like, I cooked them to a medium well. They are over half fat and gristle. I wasn't really a fan, but, you know, ate them anyway. It's now time to take it out of the oven. We'll pop it out. And by the way, if your water goes down at any point during the day, refill it. Mine didn't have that issue. But here we go. You get a meat thermometer, and you want to put it in various locations. Let's put it in here. We'll check it. We're looking to make sure we hit at least 150 degrees. 155 there, 154. Okay, so we did hit our 150 mark. Perfect. And now we need to get out some paper. Most people use butcher paper because that's what they do in barbecue competitions. I'm using parchment paper. What I'm doing is getting a little bit of this beef fat, this grease here, pulling it directly over. Putting a little bit of this down. Okay. A little bit of juice. And we are going to get our brisket into here and wrap it up. And go ahead and add a little bit of beef fat to this as well. Right along the top. Okay, now that we have this thing wrapped up for Christmas, we're going to pop her back in the oven, still at 250 degrees, until it reaches an internal temperature of 195 degrees. That should take anywhere between 10 and 15 hours, depending on the weight of it. Hey, and just a quick update from my end and my perspective of how this has been going. I started this around 4 p.m. It's now a little after 11 p.m. now that I'm doing this. So it's been at it all day, and it still has to go the other 10 to 15 hours. So I will be checking it around 10 a.m. to noon tomorrow. I'm going to be checking it, see how it's going. And for an update of how it's looking, I mean, you've seen it. It has an okay crust. The meat is still sort of hard and stiff. Right now, it's called the plateau point, where it's at that 150 degree Fahrenheit temperature level, and it has a difficulty going above that. Like, it'll go up to that, hit this plateau, and then takes a while, and then it'll jump up to its perfect temperature of 195. That's where we want it. That's where the meat, all the gristly hard parts, the sort of chewier fats, whatever, that's where it's all supposed to melt away and be soft as butter, you know, cut this thing with a spoon level of awesomeness. So we're gonna wait for that. It's gonna take forever, but, you know, go to bed and we're gonna check on it in the morning. And as of right now, I guess with the spices that I used and the smoke and whatever, the liquid smoke, by the way, that's hickory flavored liquid smoke if you didn't read the bottle. But yeah, so my house currently smells like barbecue potato chips. And yes, they're chips, not crisps. But yeah, so my house smells like a big bag of barbecue chips. That's where we're at. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning. good night, and we'll keep you posted. Hey guys, so it is the next morning. It's around noonish. So it's been cooking for like 12 hours or so. I ran into a problem with mine. My oven shut off. What you're supposed to be doing is taking it out and take your meat thermometer, poke it in, get through the fat into the meat, and you are checking for an internal temperature of 195 degrees Fahrenheit. You should be putting it in, and it feels like you're going into soft butter or peanut butter or something like that, like the brisket's floppy and totally mush on the inside, melt in your mouth. And that's what you're checking for. And then after that, you're supposed to take it out and let it rest for 1 to 3 hours minimum. And you could do that on your counter, or you can put it back in your oven at the lowest temperature your oven will go to. Mine goes to 170 degrees. And just leave it sit in there for several hours. The lower temperature will be considered at resting, and it'll allow time for the juices of the meat to come back inside. Unfortunately for mine, I took it out and checked it, and at some point during the night, between 2, 3 a.m. and now, my oven shut off. It just quit working on me, quit cooking. So I'm devastated. It's been a 2-day project for leather. My meat is around 92 degrees Fahrenheit in the thickest section, and there's no recovering from that. You can't recook a steak. It doesn't work. I'm going to probably try to save it, using it in a pressure cooker or something, to maybe get at least a piece of meat that's edible. Brisket comes from the front of the cow most of the time, where it's a lot of muscle, and so it's a very tough meat. You have to cook it a specific way in order to get it nice and tender, and my oven failed me. So there we go, full transparency. Mine didn't work out, but as per instructions, hopefully yours will. Let me know in the comments section below if yours turned out great following these instructions. I will never know. So yeah, I'm going to attempt to save this. So how it's supposed to work, so you take it out, and it's supposed to be on the floppy side, and putting your thermometer in, it's supposed to be at 195 degrees Fahrenheit. It's supposed to melt in like butter. And I've had it in here for a little bit. Back at 250 for like, a little bit. Back at the 150 mark in some areas. But that meat is still hard. I gotta get it to 195, and I think I'm going to pressure cook this to catch it back up to where it's supposed to be. So I unwrapped it, you could see the bark there, and we are putting it in the pressure cooker with a little bit of water and some beef fat, and putting it on the meat setting for 40 minutes. Okay, so 40 minutes is up. It is out of the pressure cooker, and it has reached my internal temperature marks that I needed. 199 there, a little over 200 there, and this is just sliding right through. Battery's going dead in this thing, but thicker parts, it has hit my 195 degree temperature mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this back in the oven, because this has softened up the breading on the crust on the outside, putting it in the steam of the pressure cooker. So we're going to pop it back in the oven at the lowest temperature, which is 170 degrees, and we're going to rebuild this crust for the next couple hours. And alright, let's check on our final result. It's been a couple hours. Let's take it out of the oven here. I'm making mashed potatoes and corn to go alongside with it today. And let's grab a knife, check out that crust. It has hardened up a little bit. It's not where I wanted it to be, but it's not bad. Check the flexibility of it, see if it's nice and soft and loose, which it is. Here we go. And here we are. I have it cut open for you so you can check out what the inside looks like.
You can see how it's nice and juicy and moist on the inside, as well as super, super tender. Now, it's not as moist as I would have liked it to be, but that's because it had the unintentional cool-off period. But I think I fixed it. You can see how fall apart the meat is, fall apart tender. This is similar to as if you had a roast that was cooking all day at a slow cooker. So it's not bad.
And that is how to do a brisket in the oven. Would it have turned out significantly better if I didn't have a technical malfunction in my oven? Yes, it would have. That would have retained, all the juiciness, the moisture inside the meat that I needed it to have for my expectations of it. And I've been on the debate state of, uploading this video, deleting it, whatever, because not only is my channel going in a new direction where it doesn't have all this stupid crap, and I'm sort of, having a niche on certain types of videos that I'm putting up, but also this was a semi-failure of a video where stuff didn't work out as I wanted it to. But you know what? We adapted. We overcame. We had a problem in a situation, and we did end up fixing it and making a good outcome in the end. If you were to have followed my steps, I've written them down on the screen in different places. Your brisket won't turn out like mine exactly. Yours will be better. Mine had a malfunction of the oven, and it still turned out really, really well following these tips. Just get yourself a better oven than I have, and yours will be absolutely phenomenal. Let me know how yours turned out if you ever actually try this. Now, my final result, the crust on the outside, it wasn't as hard or whatever as it should be. It ended up being similar to like a chicken breading, and that's why I accidentally said breading on there. But that's sort of how it reminded me of. Now it wasn't as hard as I want it to be. Now the flavor's fantastic. It just wasn't that hard crunch through barbecue crust that you would expect from some of these expert pit masters or whatever. But once again, I'm also doing it in the oven, so you have different results there. And as far as the meat moisture content is concerned, it should have been a lot more juicy on the inside. But like I said, it had a cool off period, and then I had to revamp that. I used a pressure cooker to bring back the tenderness, but all that moisture that was built up over time, it went away. But it was still very, very good. Everybody loved it. The flavor was very good, and it was tender, melt in your mouth whole way through. It was phenomenal. All the fat sort of rendered through the meat, and it was still very, very good. And on top of that, if you wanted to, I had mashed potatoes, and I had corn that I grew over the summer in the garden and stuff, and that's what we had as sides. But you could have taken that the rendered fat and different things that you made, and the grease or whatever, and you could have turned that into a nice, wonderful gravy to go on top if you were into gravy and stuff. For mine, I wanted to keep the barbecue flavor, so I didn't do gravy. I just wanted the straight barbecue, everything that came with it. If you wanted to imitate the smoker look on the inside of the meat, where you have that pink layer on the inside, there's special kinds of salts that you can buy to put on with your crust and with your seasonings and stuff. And what that'll do is it'll soak in pink coloration to your meat, and it'll give it an artificial smoke color on the inside as well. Mine, I didn't add those salts. I just wanted my straight flavor because I'm not concerned about, I'm not serving a crowd. I'm serving my family, and taste is what matters. I have very, very picky people eating with me, so it's the flavor that counts. Flavor, texture, consistency of the whole thing. That's what matters here, and that's what we did. Had a fantastic result. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say over it. I do give it a thumbs up, and the next time, maybe I'm going to monitor my oven better, or maybe even check out different options as far as that's concerned. But as far as doing it straight in the oven, I think it came out pretty well. This was my first time doing this, but also not only was it my first time doing this, but my oven died on me halfway through. So you got to figure it out. You got to work around. But it ended up working out in the end. It was a phenomenal result. I fixed it with the pressure cooker. Yeah, like I said, I was debating on throwing this video up in general, but I'm glad I did. I got a wonderful recipe and a wonderful way of doing this this process, and on top of that, somebody that is screwed up or whatever, how to fix it. I contemplated for a long time. I was frustrated. It was like a 2-day project for this, and then I just wanted to take the whole brisket and throw it on the highway. Just throw it in the garbage, whatever. But I stepped away for a little bit, and then eventually I was like, all right, we're going to fix this. Threw it in the pressure cooker, and that melted my meat how it needed to be, back up to the 195, and then we went back to the oven. So it ended up working out. Give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you like this video, if you liked any tips or whatever, if you were excited, came along with the journey with me of making this oven brisket, the smoky everything. By the way, my oven, this is a couple days later now that I'm recording this section, my oven still smells like smoke. I made pizza in there the other day, yesterday, and the whole thing has a little bit of a smoke background, and I gotta clean that thing, clean it out, and we'll work on some future projects together. Stick around. I got a lot of different tutorials for a lot of different things, a lot of crazy stuff coming. We are gonna go on adventures soon. We'll check out gear and different things we're gonna go through, different processes of different things, and some survival tips, different things for outside, because this is supposed to be an adventure channel. But I wanted something different, something to throw up, get a little hint of a different audience. Yeah, we're just trying different things. Had fun with this, and at this point I'm rambling on, so I'm going to get off of here, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. See ya.